Greetings people, I am Lucifer Seraph and welcome back to Final Fantasy VII. In the last episode, we added to the ever-growing list of Cloud's mental defects. We discovered that Aeris is trained in the art of instant transmission, and the brothels of the Midgar slums are a front for demonic rituals. Oh yeah, and Aeris got kidnapped. We start this episode with a decision. Do we take the Shinra HQ head-on, forcing our way through the front door, tackling the guards, terrifying the innocent bystanders, looting the store, and survive an epic battle royale in the elevator? Or do we spend 5 minutes running up 60 flights of stairs? So yeah, once inside the front door, Barrett starts shouting threats at the receptionist. The 4 guards take offense at this, triggering a battle with 2 grenade combatants. I'll work that one out later. These guys aren't a problem, 130 HP each, and even the grenades aren't very strong. At the back of this room you'll find the Turtles Paradise Flyer number 2. As the name suggests, this is the second flyer, of 6. We won't find the next one for a very long time, so one less thing to worry about. Aside from this, the first and second floors don't have anything interesting, but the third floor holds a simple item store, and even though you're breaking into this place, you still have to pay. Also, the cashier won't let you open the 2 chests in the corner of the room. Once you're stocked up on items and you've grown tired of chasing the patrons around the first floor, head to the elevator at the back of the room. Once inside, Barrett finally swallows his pride and apologises for being such a dick, and treating you like a human Veruca. Sadly, before this bromance can take off, the elevator goes crazy. Hit the controls again to stop the elevator on a random floor. You can land on any floor between floor 6 and floor 59. After each battle, the elevator will advance 7 to 15 floors, meaning you usually fight about 5 battles. Each floor holds a fight of some description. However, floors 29, 38, 47 and 56 have a Shinra employee, who runs off in a panic. The enemies you may encounter are as follows. The grenade combatants you fought earlier, but the Hammer Basher is a true nuisance that can hide in the floor, leaving you stood there like a lemon, staring menacingly at the opposite wall. Furthermore, it can inflict the Confusion status with its hammer attack, which isn't all that strong. It has 210 HP and weak to lightning. The Sword Dance is a peculiar specimen, with the annoying ability to attack twice in one turn. Also, their attacks can inflict you with the Fury status effect. Basically, that means your limit breaks will trigger more often, but you receive more damage from physical attacks. They have 160 HP with no specific weakness. The Moth Slasher isn't really anything to worry about. 260 HP, weak to lightning, and not very strong. You can, however, steal the pretty decent carbon bangles from them. I didn't because I'm a dumbass and I didn't research stolen items before I started recording. And finally, the Mighty Grunt. This thing is actually 2 enemies in one. The first form has a ton of defense and strength, but is pretty slow. After losing half its health, the armor breaks, decreasing its defense and attack, but increasing its speed and evasion. They have no weakness and 230 HP, with the armor breaking at about 115 damage. Once you reach floor 59, you encounter 3 mighty combatants. This is incidentally the same floor you reach if you took the stairs. After the fight, one of the corpses kindly drops a keycard for the 60th floor. And thus starts this area's gimmick. On every floor you have to complete a small minigame to advance to the next floor. Some of these minigames are optional, and some of them actually require a small degree of brain power and skill. All of them are irritating and serve simply to prolong the game. Now, you may be wondering why the team hasn't alerted all the security in the building. And even if you weren't, at least now you know the answer. Floor 60 houses what I like to call the "we couldn't think of anything interesting to put here, so let's throw in a simple puzzle you don't actually have to solve" room. This floor has our crew running between statues, trying to avoid the gaze of a couple of guards. Time your movements carefully and you won't have any problems. Alternatively, you could get caught 4 times and kill all the guards on the floor. However, this does mean 4 fights with a group of 3 mighty grunts. The first option is quicker, the second nets you some nice experience. You decide. Floor 61, What I like to call the "we've got a huge space and nothing to put in it, so let's plant a tree in the middle of it and call it a T-bar" room is the epitome of pointless. It contains nothing worth noting, and the employees have nothing interesting to say. But there is a guy in a grey suit wandering aimlessly around the room. Talk to him and he'll mistake you for the maintenance crew. Yes, an innocent mistake, what with workmen often wearing heavy shoulder pads, miniskirts, and having high-caliber, fully automatic machine guns grafted onto their major extremities. You could probably kill this twat and increase the average IQ of the human race. Either way, he gives you his keycard for the 62nd floor, so presumably he can no longer return to work. Although since floor 62 holds one of the building's most irritating compulsory puzzles, I can see why he decided never to come here again. This is the repository for Shinra's research documents and Mayor Domino's office. Mayor Domino himself will give you his keycard if you can figure out his password. The mayor, being a complete dickhole, has taken it upon himself to rearrange the research documents in a vindictive, if completely harmless, act of childish vandalism. Your goal is to locate the documents that are out of place. All of the documents, including the incorrect ones, have a number in front of the title. The number refers to the letter of the title which is part of the password. For example, the document entitled "For the Genova Project" would give the letter J, J being the fourth letter in the title. Like I said, the goal is to find the documents that are out of place. For example, if you find a document on weapon research in the urban development section, you just found part of the password. The password itself changes every time you play, and you get to choose from a list the mayor gives you. Although the passwords Orbs and Hojo are never the correct answer in any localization. All the passwords are 4 letters long, so I'd recommend having a pen and paper handy. Once you've found the 4 misplaced documents, you now have an anagram of the password, unless you're lucky enough to find them in the correct order. If you guess the password on the first attempt, you receive an elemental materia, which I highly recommend for later bosses. Other prizes include an elixir, an ether, and a potion. Now that you have the level 65 keycard, leave and never return. Floor 63. Storage. This floor is completely optional. The immense paranoia of the Shinra executives has given rise to this nightmarish maze of doors. The idea is to collect the room's 3 treasures by opening only 3 doors, and then return to the console in the southeast corner. Naturally, all the direct routes lead you to 1, maybe 2 treasures. To be honest, I don't know. Because this room is so easy, I've never collected anything less than all 3. The console makes a big deal about warning you against climbing through the ventilation system, so naturally any route that collects all the treasures must involve the ventilation system. Knowing that, it's easy enough to map a simple route through the rooms and collect all the treasures therein. The treasures themselves being a star pendant, an accessory that negates the poison effect, a 4 slots, a piece of armor with 4 materia slots, and an all materia. Floor 64. The gym. This floor has a save point and allows you to rest for free. It's also the location for the ultimate weapon of one of the game's later characters, but right now Cloud dismisses it as junk. Floor 65. Urban planning, or as I like to call it, pain. Back to the compulsory time-wasting bullcrap. Enter the circular room in the centre to wake up the city map. The idea of this floor is to complete the broken model of Midgar. There are multiple chests around the floor. Once you find one that's unlocked, you must return the part contained therein to the model in the centre, thus unlocking the next chest. Yes, it takes bloody ages, especially since this floor has random battles engaged. Once the model is complete, the chest containing the next keycard will unlock. Bear in mind that Sector 6, the part of the model located at 8 o'clock, isn't completed yet, and as such remains broken. Floor 66. Officers and the Executive Meeting Room. At this floor, the story returns to haunt us. The Shinra bigwigs are having a meeting, and our team wants to listen in. Fortunately, the only known bathroom in the entire building is located in the northwest corner of this floor. Our fortune continues when the team discovers a ventilation duct in one of the cubicles. And even more fortune presents itself when we discover this duct connects the bathroom to the meeting room. I can only assume the designers of this building had a personal grudge with the Shinra executives, since they decided to connect their meeting room's air supply with the building's one and only toilet. Meet the executives. From left to right, we have Heidegger, Head of Public Safety, aka the military. Palmer, Head of Shinra's failed space program. President Shinra, Professional adulterer and all-round douchehole. Scarlet, Head of Weapons Development. And Reeve Tuesti, Head of Urban Development. The meeting is about the recent decision to demolish an entire eighth of the city, and the repair bill of 10 billion gil. However, the conversation quickly turns to Eris when Professor Hojo, head of science and research, arrives and announces that the study of the specimen will take approximately 120 years. Obviously, this is much longer than Eris's lifespan. As such, his plan is to breed her to create a subject that can endure research for a longer time. Apparently, morals and human rights mean nothing when compared to the prospect of finding the Promised Land. Oh yeah, I haven't mentioned that yet, have I? The Shinra Electric Power Company's secret goal is to locate this so-called Promised Land, which they believe is full of Mako energy. If they can tap this potentially unlimited source of power, Shinra can advance from the position of global superpower with ultimate control over practically every aspect of life on the planet of Gaia, to the far greater position of global superpower with ultimate control over practically every aspect of life on the planet of Gaia, with access to an infinite supply of psychedelic green wibbly things. Don't ask. Apparently, the 1 1/5 century wait doesn't bother the executives, and the meeting is dismissed, with a passing comment from Scarlet about the smell coming from the air ducts. Of course the air vents stink, they're connected to the privy. Worm your way back through the vents and your team notices Hojo hovering near the stairwell. Reasoning that he may know where Eris is being held, they decide to follow him. Floor 67, holding cells and specimen storage. Once here you can find a new enemy. The Soldier 3rd. These guys attack in pairs and can be quite deadly. They have access to level 2 bolt and ice spells, and their physical attacks with swords and flying sickles can hit for 80 plus damage. Thankfully, these abilities cost MP, of which they only have 40 points each. They have 250 HP, and are especially weak to fire spells. I highly recommend trying to steal the Hard Edge from these guys, a weapon for Cloud which packs a pretty decent punch, and you won't have to replace it for a long time. Once around the corner, we find Hojo admiring a specimen in a tube, and tells his assistant to raise it to the next level. Tifa decides to admire it as well, and I can only assume Barrett decides to admire Tifa's backside. While those two are admiring various specimens, Cloud notices a large containment pod nearby and recognizes the name. Genova. Which turns out to be some kind of woman-like entity with no head. The sight of which causes Cloud to have a sudden crippling attack of tinnitus. Again. I should really get that checked out, mate. It looks painful. He seems to recognize the creature, but doesn't feel inclined to discuss it. Continue around the corner and find a save point and a chest containing poison materia. Save, heal up, and head up the elevator next to you. Floor 67, Genetic Research. Upon arriving, we find Hojo being a complete spaz. Before we continue, I'd like to take a few minutes to explain why this room makes no sense and how incredibly stupid Hojo is being right now. The whole point of this experiment is to breed Eris with a wolf-like creature, to create a child that can be experimented on for longer periods. Aside from the obvious bestiality complaint, which I believe the game is trying to convey, this experiment simply won't work. Now, as you've probably guessed, I know bog all about genetic research. However, I do know one or two things about breeding. Let me explain. I'd like to introduce you all to the word genus, plural genera, from the Latin generis, meaning birth or race. It's the name of a title used to classify biological organisms. Every documented creature is classified as part of a specific genus. For example, Canis, which includes dogs, jackals, wolves, dingoes and the like. Panthera, which includes tigers, lions, panthers, jaguars, etc. Homo, used to classify the great apes, mainly humans and our various ancestors. And for the sake of pleasing the Broner community, Equus, which includes horses, donkeys, zebras, etc. Now, I'll assume for the sake of decency you already understand how breeding works. If not, the next few minutes won't make much sense. Now, creatures of the same genus can freely breed and produce offspring. For example, human plus human equals another human. Successful interbreeding can occur to produce what is known as a hybrid, so long as both parents are part of the same genus. For example, lion plus tiger equals tigon. Such hybrids are commonly the result of genetic research, but natural examples do exist, albeit being extremely rare. Breeding between genera is a biological impossibility, owing to the great differences between them. While indeed it would give rise to many new and interesting species, such unions simply would not and cannot bear fruit. The differences between the species is simply too great. Why am I telling you this? Because the creation of a cross-genus hybrid is exactly what Hojo is trying to achieve. By trying to breed the human Eris Gainsborough with the wolf Red 13, yes that's its name, he is ignoring the basic rules of biology. Now, as I said, I'm not a genetic researcher. No, I'm a gamer who makes YouTube videos. But I know this will not work. Why doesn't he? The fact of the matter is, Hojo is a genetic researcher. He knows damn well this experiment will not work. He's doing it for the lols. What a prick. Naturally, we don't want Eris to go through with this, so Barrett conjures all his scientific knowledge and opens the chamber with the power of bullets. I'm gonna try that next time I can't find my car keys. With Eris safe and the wolf molesting Hojo, the team have a full second respite before the specimen elevator starts up. The wolf offers to help, yes it can talk, and mentions the specimen on its way up is pretty strong. He's lying, but fuck it, it's a talking wolf. Meet Red 13, real name Nanaki, research specimen and warrior of the distant land of Cosmo Canyon. Equip your team and get ready for a boss fight. Meet Sample H0512 and his friends, also called Sample H0512, hereafter referred to as the Guardians. This thing has 1000 HP and takes reduced damage from physical attacks, what with it being in the back row and all. It receives half damage from bolt spells and is immune to poison. Attack-wise it has 3 main attacks. Shady Breath, which can inflict the poison status on the entire party. A claw attack that hits for about 30 damage. And the Reanimagic technique that resurrects the Guardians. The Guardians themselves have 300 HP and no weakness. They can cast fire and ice spells and have a couple of physical attacks that do minimal damage. Kill one of them and H0512, the big one, will resurrect them, but it can only do this 3 times. Strategy-wise, fire spells seem to be effective and limit breaks are always useful. Just remember that H0512, the big one, is in the back row, so concentrate on magical attacks for maximum damage. Kill the specimen and he takes the Guardians with him, so don't waste too much energy trying to kill them. After the fight, Red apologises for trying to rape Eris, claiming he was simply acting to throw Hojo off guard. Because that makes it alright. Yeah. Pick your team and head for the elevator on the 66th floor, not forgetting to pick up the materia dropped by the boss. Anyway, there are 4 potions lying about on the floor, and Hojo's assistant gives you the 68th floor keycard. Head downstairs and get to the elevator. Incidentally, at this point you can find a new enemy lurking around. The Warning Board. It's basically a turret. A weak turret. 270 HP and immune to lightning. Kill it before it bores you to death. Sadly, your escape plan of using the building's main elevator doesn't quite pay off, and you get taken hostage. The team gets dragged up to meet the President, who gives you a ton of exposition about the Ancients and the Promised Land. The meeting doesn't last long before you're led away to the holding cells. Once here, examine the door to check on your teammates. Barrett has more to say on the Promised Land legend, and decides to re-establish Avalanche. Red 13 is missing his grandfather but has nothing else to say. Tifa wants to know if you have any ideas on how to escape, but is otherwise of no help whatsoever. Talking to Eris advances the story. She talks at length about the Satra's ability to commune with the planet. However, even though she is a Satra, she has trouble understanding what the planet has to say. With little other option, examine the door and get some sleep. Upon waking up, Cloud finds the door unlocked and the guard dead. After waking up your companions, Red runs ahead to scout out the area, while Barrett remains here to clean up the mess. Why? Anyway, the building is deserted except for a few corpses and some new enemies. Firstly, the Vargid Police, irritating specimens with the ability to paralyze your team, and then use a suicide ability to hit you for over 100 damage. They have 140 HP, no weaknesses, and if they blow up you don't receive anything from them. Next up, the Brain Pod, another ball of irritation. Its refuse ability can hit for over 80 damage while inflicting you with poison, and its physical attacks aren't worth mentioning. But its 240 HP and immunity to poison are worth mentioning. Incidentally, this thing is classified as undead, meaning healing magic can hit it pretty hard. And finally, Zenine. This thing can inflict you with poison and blindness with its Paizo Shower, and its fire-based Gengana attack can easily hit for over 100 damage. It receives half damage from fire spells and can absorb poison. Kind of makes you wonder why the game gave you a poison material when everything in the building is either immune or fucking absorbs it. Anyway, they have 250 HP, and they're also weak to healing spells. Follow Red around the corner, and we see that the Genova specimen has wandered off, leaving a trail of blood in its wake. Follow the trail up 2 floors to the Oval Office. Oh no, they killed President Shinra, what are we going to do? Cloud deduces that Sephiroth killed him, since only Sephiroth can use this sword. As pathetic as that reasoning is, it seems to be correct, since Palmer comes out of hiding and reveals that it was Sephiroth that killed the president. Not that it matters, since right on cue, the president's son arrives. Head outside to say hi. This is Rufus Shinra, the new president of the Shinra Company, because apparently presidencies work like that now. He introduces himself to the team by giving them a recital of his presidential acceptance speech, which can be summed up thus.
The cruelty of the old pharaoh is a thing of the past. Let a whole new wave of cruelty wash over this lazy land.
Cloud tells the team to get Aeris out of the building. They run off, leaving him to fight Rufus. Downstairs, Tifa stays behind to make sure you only have 3 party members for the upcoming boss. Sorry, because she's worried about Cloud's safety even though she does nothing to help him. Remove Tifa and Cloud's materia and equip your team for a long-range fight in the elevator. Meet the 100 Gunner. This thing can be a pain in the ass to fight since only Barrett can attack it physically. It has 1600 HP and a weakness to lightning. It also has 3 forms, depending on the amount of damage it's received. In its first form, it uses the Auxiliary Artillery, which hits one target for about 50 damage, and the Hidden Artillery that hits for about 60 damage. After it's taken about 600 damage, it changes form, and starts using the Main Artillery. This ability targets the whole party, and can hit for anything between 30 and 70 damage. In retrospect, it's probably a bad idea to put anyone in the front row. After another 500 damage, it enters its final stage and begins to use the Wave Artillery, a powerful laser that hits for 100 plus damage on every party member. Strategy-wise, stick to fire and lightning spells. It's not like you can do much else anyway. Once it's dead, it instantly gets replaced by the Heligunner. This thing has 1000 HP and only 2 forms. In its first form, it uses the AB Cannon, which hits for about 50 damage and inflicts the Sleep status. The C Cannon also hits for about 50 damage and can inflict poison. It also has a Firing Line ability that hits for about 70 damage and inflicts poison and sleep on the whole party. Its second form occurs after about 800 damage. It then forgets about its guns and starts using the Flying Drill attack that hits for about 80 damage. And the Spinning Body Blow can hit for 60 to 70 damage. Use the same strategy of Fire and Bolt and try to keep your health above 200. Once that's over with, we return to Cloud, unequip the others, and ready Cloud for a boss fight. Rufus asks why Cloud wants to fight, which in my opinion is a perfectly reasonable question. But Cloud wants to fight, so we're gonna damn well fight. At which point Rufus points out that Sephiroth is also an ancient. But apparently we don't care about that. Fuck you, Cloud. Another boss fight. Rufus and Dark Nation. Word of advice. Kill Dark Nation as soon as possible. This thing only has 140 HP, but it casts barriers, magic barriers, and then pummels you to bits with bolt spells. Rufus, on the other hand, uses his brain and brings a shotgun to a sword fight. It only does 50 damage at best, but combined with the bolt assault from Dark Nation and the barriers reducing all your attacks, these two can easily kill you. Like I said, kill Dark Nation first, and after Rufus has taken 500 points of damage, he runs off. Once the fight is over, run downstairs to where Tifa is waiting. Meanwhile, Aerith, Red and Barrett are in the lobby. Apparently, the local police have finally woken up and surrounded the building. Barrett is ready to go all out in a blaze of glory, or to be more precise, a blaze of blood and tears. Sadly, Tifa arrives to stop him. She has a plan that can only be explained in a truly badass cutscene. Yes, the entire team has to cram into the back of a 3-wheeled pickup truck, while Cloud gets to play around with the fucking Harvey Daytona. A bike so supremely awesome it can drive unhindered through what appears to be 3-inch thick glass. Fair enough. Time for a minigame, but firstly, choose and equip your party. Remember to put all of them in the front row. This is an important factor in the upcoming fight, which as you will see I completely forgot about. Anyway, this minigame is on rails as you probably guessed. All you have to do is survive and protect your team for 3 minutes. If your team get knocked out in the truck, they'll have 1 HP in the boss fight, and since the boss always attacks first, they're most likely dead right off the bat. As far as I can tell, the police all have the same health, and take 1 or 2 direct hits to kill. You can of course just run into them and knock them off their bikes, but that damages Cloud in the process. After 3 minutes, the boss arrives and chases you to the end of the road. And no, you can't attack it while on the bike. I tried. This battle is a back attack. Here's a tip. If you find an enemy attacking you from behind like this, hit escape for a split second. The game forgets that you're facing the wrong way and sets you back facing the right way, thus reducing the damage you take from the enemy's first attack. This is the Motorball, and it will kill you if you aren't prepared. It has 2,600 health and powerful fire attacks. Its arm attack can hit for 75 damage, its wheelie attack can hit the whole team for 20 to 40 damage, the twin burner hits the team for over 80 damage, and the rolling fire attack can deal a crippling 200 plus damage to the entire team. Strategy wise, lightning, its only weakness. Combine Bolt with the elemental materia in Cloud's weapon and his attacks will hit much harder. Alternatively, combine Fire with the elemental materia in your weakest member's armor to reduce the damage taken from Twin Burner and Rolling Fire. Keep your health above 300 and once again, don't bother with poison. Once that's over, the team finally leave Midgar in pursuit of Sephiroth, the Promised Land, and the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Okay, maybe not. And that concludes episode 4. Join me next time for a flashback. Also, I'm sorry about the 2-month wait. I have a full-time job. What can I say? It demands my utmost attention. I can't name the company I work for legal reasons.
But as I'm sure you can appreciate, things get a bit hectic this time of year. But anyway, take care of yourselves, guys. Hope to see you soon, but until then, this is Lucifer Seraph signing off.